You know how every now and then in your life you come to the realization that you don't exactly know what your passion is in a certain thing. Sometimes it's because of limitations, you know, sometimes it's just because you're doing something for the sake of doing something. Someone asked me the other day, they said, Alex, what is your style, man? What is your genre of photography? What do you enjoy shooting? And I found that the first thing that popped in my mind was, well, it depends on what gear I have that day. Is the Tamron 18-300mm for the FujiFilm X series cameras the best budget wide angle-ish to zoom lens out there? I don't know, let's find out in this video. It's quite a walk actually when you're shooting at 450mm. Yeah, so I was standing here essentially. That should give you a pretty good example of just how fantastic well, how good the throw is on the full zoom on this lens. Now, unfortunately, I am shooting alone as I normally do. So I shoot in the daytime. It's weird, and I have to kind of do the zoom thing manually. But I figured I'd show you the distance, and then also how rad is this little Boya Xm6 lens? It's not a lens. Boya Xm6 microphone that I'm using. Obviously, I've been using the Rode Go 2s for a little while, and unfortunately, I no longer have them. But if I'm honest with you, I'm actually loving these quite a lot. So let me know what you think the sound's like in the comments. Maybe we will actually do a review on these down the line, but let's get over to the other part of the conservation area and let's talk a bit more. So if you haven't noticed, it's actually a few days since I started filming the first part of this video, and I asked myself a question, or I relayed a question that I was asked about, you know, what is my passion in photography? What is my style? And I said that I always ask, you know, what gear do I have that day? You know, what's going to limit me from shooting something that I want to shoot that day? And I made a point that you don't want your gear to limit you, but your gear will always kind of limit you to a point. So funny enough, since then, I went home and I started editing, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I did a whole bunch of talking, and you know how we do it. And I was like, oh, this is not doing it justice. It just sounded corny, you know, the whole like, I was limited by my gear, so I bought this. Like, it didn't drive home the point that I wanted to make, and that is that I've fallen in love with this lens. I've come out here into the conservation area where I live, and it may look like I'm actually somewhere in the Bundus, but I'm not. My house is just there. And I just came out here and I started shooting 300mm photography. I don't think I've ever done like something where I just shot water droplets at 300mm, kind of make it look whimsical, if you will. And that's what this lens has been doing to me. It's been changing the way that I shoot. It's been changing the things that I enjoy shooting. And it gives you that option. It gives you that option to come and shoot wide open at 18mm or 26mm, or it gives you the option to come shoot at 440mm or whatever it is. So I'll put a few shots up of what I shot this morning. But I wanted to talk a bit about what I've used the lens for, and then give my overall holistic view on the Tamron 18-300mm. Okay, so I have shot quite a bunch of real estate photo and video with the lens. I've shot a racing event or two at Kalani. I've shot a drifting event. I've shot a Gymkhana event. I've photographed headshots. I've photographed surfing. I actually can't even think what else I've shot. I've basically done everything that I normally do in my day job and my passion work with this lens, to the point that I could take out my other lenses and just leave this lens in the bag. So with regards to real estate photography, naturally you want to be shooting a lot wider when you're shooting, you know, the general living spaces. So I wouldn't use this for that, but I have used it for the detail shots. And if you're just looking to get into real estate photography, you can actually get away with 24mm-ish. You know, don't tell all the pros that, but you can. You can use your space a little bit better. So, I mean, if it's your first time real estate photographer, you probably could use this lens. I would recommend something a bit wider, like a 16mm or something. Motorsport photography. So I'm shooting on the FujiFilm X-S10, and I had also used the FujiFilm X-T4 with it at Kalani shooting Motorsport from outside of the track, so on the big bleachers around one of the corners. And I think I had a success rate on focus of about, I think I shot 800 shots with the one camera and I got about 300 edits, so fairly good success rate, about 40%. Which is, if you know, like with motorsport photography, obviously there's always going to be a very high hit and miss rate. A lot of photographers, like the really pro guys who are selling work, they will go and shoot 1,000 shots in a day and then they will produce 10 edits and they'll be happy with that. So when I say I had 300 edits, I mean I had 300 serviceable shots. And the lens performed well. The lens focused quite quickly. Lens was light, so it was easy to use for the duration of the day without having to put a tripod or a monopod. Obviously, it's a tiny bit of it could be seen as a holdback that it's a variable f-stop on the lens, but most of the time when you're shooting in bright sunlight at the racetrack, you're shooting about f10, f11 anyway, because I like to shoot quite a low shutter speed. So I'll put a shot or two up as well, where I shoot at about 1/30th to 1/60th of a second, which also decreases my hit and miss rate. But the lens performed phenomenally. I have this, and I also have the 70-200mm lens for my Nikon. Jeepers, it's Nikon. And I'd say they're very similar. Naturally, I do have the version 1 of the Tamron lens for my Nikon, but it's fine. So yeah, I think for motorsport photography, another cool thing is because you have the wide angle option, you can go and do pits, you can go do pans if you're doing like close pans to a straight. You can obviously do long shots, you can do short shots, medium shots. So if you're looking to get into motorsport photography, I'd say this is probably the premium affordable lens for you. Like, I'm not saying it's the best, the be all and end all. I'm just saying at the price point of about, I think it's like $900 to $1,000. I'll put a price up on screen. It's absolutely fantastic. It does literally everything that you could want it to do on a day. So if you wanted to get into motorsport photography and you have a Sony or Fuji, I'd say get one of these lenses. Headshots and portrait photography, I would say lens performed as I would expect it to. It's not the sharpest of sharp lenses, I need to be honest with you. It's sharp, but it's not like crisp. It's not like a prime lens on a Nikon or a Canon or something like that. However, if you're looking to get into headshots and portrait and studio photography, lens does its job. You're never really going to shoot lower than about f5-ish, f3-ish if you're shooting really close up and wide. So the lens does what it needs. If you want to start shooting like high art portrait work and you want to be shooting f 1.4 to 2.8, then obviously you're going to have to get a prime lens for that. But yeah, for headshots and studio photography, the lens performed fantastically. I think if I can just throw out some closing comments, I would say the lens is a very good beginner all-round lens. If you're looking to go traveling, if you want to go do vlogging out and about and have the option to take photos as well, if you want to be a motorsport photographer, or you want to be a model photographer, you want to learn, or you want to be a photojournalist or anything like that, I'd say if you don't have the money to buy 2 individual lenses, definitely pick up the Tamron 18-300mm. It would be a valuable piece of kit, and it may even replace some kit that you have. But I'm going to put a few more shots up, maybe a little bit more video, and then yeah, see you guys in the next video. Thank you.